with the situation we're currently in, I mean, you definitely have to adapt to different training regimens. So luckily I have, a lot of equipment here at my parents' house, so I can make up for, not having a physical gym to be able to do enough exercises in the garage and being, a block away from a park. So I have a sled in the garage. I have, everything I need. So the essential training I can do, I mean, it's, it's definitely tough in times like this, but you have to adapt.
In terms of one of the things we talk a lot about with our guests, we like being able to share people's stories. And one of them is really to focus in on, how athletics has unlocked an opportunity for you. It'd be great for you to be able to share your story. I know you've got a lot of athletes in the family, from dad to your brother and obviously yourself. So maybe share with the listeners how athletics has unlocked opportunity for you and your family.
So it gives you, athletics allow you to open doors that otherwise you wouldn't be able to. Like, case in point, like there's no way I get into Stanford without football, and I use football as my tool to get into a good university. So because realistically, only 1%, not sounds so nihilistic, but only 1% makes it. So it's you have to put yourself in a situation where you can be successful if sports don't work out. So that's why I chose Stanford. And from there, I, got better at the game, worked every day, all the times when, there are days off, I would come in and do my own thing, always try to get better. I always try to think about getting 1% better every day I train. So if I get better 1% over a longevity, over a long time period, I'm going to be a lot farther along to where I want to be. So that's kind of the way I think about it. And then from there, the draft, and that was, it's a completely very long, different story. But yeah, it's just a lot of hard work no one saw.
Leadership. There's a lot of different types of leaders that are out there. You've obviously had the opportunity to play for a number of really great leaders. Talk to us about what leadership has meant to you, and maybe who were some of the most influential leaders you've had the ability to be around.
Yeah, I mean, my take on leadership, all it really is accountability, in my opinion. I mean, every good leader, every good coach, I mean, it starts at the top. I mean, you can't speak out of both sides of your mouth. You have to live what you preach. And if you want to be accountable, that means putting in the extra work. That means doing the small details that, most people won't even recognize. Because, I mean, that's just kind of the mentality you have to separate yourself. Because, I mean, there are a lot of good athletes out there, but the things that make people good to great are just the minute details. It's not just being good enough. It's being up to your potential, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. You will real quick trip down memory lane from some of the leaders you've had. Coach Ladouceur, what was his leadership style, and how did that influence you?
I mean, he had a calm, intense style of leadership where, when I got him, it was his last team, so he wasn't saying as much as I'm sure guys, 20 years in the past have been. It was a lot. It was pretty split between him and Allen Ball in terms of, the voices you would hear, but he was just more calm and reserved. The Ladouceur I experienced, just laid back, calm, just had the answers to every situation out there and just trusted his preparation. So I really took preparation from him. I mean, just seeing him, how calm he is on game day because he's scouted, he's done the work, he's coached, he's put everything in place. So, the score will take care of itself. So, I mean, that was something valuable I learned from him.
I was going to say, how about at Stanford? Was there any whether it's, head coach, position coach, even in the pro game as well, any coaches there that you've been able to take some things away from?
Kyle Shanahan, for sure. I mean, just his obsession of the details and seeing what small details that most people don't realize speak volumes, and those create, huge problems for those who aren't students of the game, those who aren't completely plugged into what they're doing. So I really learned that from him. Just the smallest detail that, the common person wouldn't even notice is the difference between a touchdown and a tackle for life. It's very interesting seeing the game from his perspective. So he was definitely one of the best leaders I've been around.
That's awesome. And then the last one on the leadership side of it, how about a player? Really any time. Any players from a leadership standpoint that really had an impact on you?
I would say Julio Jones. I mean, Julio is just kind of lead by example type of guy. And I mean, that's kind of who I am. I've never really been like a rah-rah guy. So seeing the way how he goes to work and just puts his head down and grinds and leads by example. When he says something, everyone listens because he's about everything he says. He really works as hard as anyone else, if not more. So, I mean, when you got a guy who's a superstar who's really doing it, it really sets a good culture for the rest of the guys in the locker room. So he was definitely one of the better leaders.
Nice. Transition into, what you're going to be, your new team, new organization. I think many people in just the athletic world can assimilate with that, right? That it's you go from maybe coaching at one school or teaching at a school, you may move to another one. You have different leaders. Obviously, you've got an awesome opportunity in Cleveland. What are the things that have you really excited about? The new organization in Cleveland and working with everybody there.
Yeah, I mean, life changes. Life constantly changes. I mean, you have to adapt with it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, Cleveland I felt was the best situation for me, and I'm really excited to be a part of what Coach Stefanski has going on. It's just really, obviously we'd like to be there physically to get a good feel for, everything and everybody in person, but just from the limited amount of time I've been around him, just understand his nature. I'm definitely very happy I chose them. So, I mean, it's we got a chance to do something special. So, I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's great, man.